Everybody hates Atu now.
Yeah.
No, the TV shows, everybody hates Atu.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you don't know if he's Kwame or if he's Atu, or then he changed his name on LinkedIn. It's causing people all kinds of confusion.
Okay.
Utter confusion.
Yeah.
So the other day I had Carly from Sister Snacking here.
Yeah.
She knows you.
Yeah.
How big or how small is the food creator network in New York?
It's actually relatively small, even though, I mean, there's a lot of people who do it, but we all kind of know each other, you know? So I know Carly, I know Madison. So yeah, friendly with them. They're great. But it's a pretty small community.
Do you guys ever get into like fights over bagels and whatnot?
No, but there are little beefs here and there. Mostly with like when you get like a, you know, who's getting like a sponsored deal, right? Like, why did they get it? Why didn't I get it?
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
or
yeah.
like who was invited to this thing? Why wasn't I invited? Why were they invited? It's not beefs, but it's sort of
It's
this
a comparison point.
Yeah,
of-
like a little, you know, measuring, if you
That's
know what
true
I'm
in
saying.
almost anything.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for coming by today.
Thanks
This
for
will be a
having me.
fun, easy hour.
Yeah.
Except for some really tough questions. Did you catch the the other day?
That-
Did you catch that? That's how I started.
Yeah.
So the other day.
So the other day, I like
Me
that.
and my yeah,
So the other day.
Me and my wife were talking this
Yeah.
morning, and we're like, so the other day.
Yeah.
And she's like, why do you keep saying that? And I'm like, oh, because it's in all of his videos, and I want to be ready when we start.
But
So-
you got to say it like, so the other day. Like, you
so
got to
the
like.
other day.
Yeah, you got
So
to
the
like.
emphasis is on the day.
Yeah, is it? I don't know.
Yeah. The way you just said it was.
However
No.
that is, that's the way I say it. I don't know.
No, it's your hook. It's now you know I'm gonna eat this.
Yeah.
Like
Trying
when you
to.
hear so.
So,
Because so the other day kind of came in, the new so, I like it. That sets it up.
yeah.
Because a couple times it's like, if you go back a week or so, or even more than that, you know, it's like the other day I went,
Yeah. It's a new
Richard-
thing now.
yeah, so the other day.
Yeah, big changes on my page, you know, so I came up with that.
Did you come up with it? Did you have
Yeah.
to work on it?
Had the writers help me, you know, we came up with that.
By writers, it's you and
It's
you
me.
and your girlfriend?
It's literally just me in a very specific spot in my bedroom, laying on my bed in the kind of in the corner of the room, because that's just where I do all the videos, and I feel like the sound sounds the same there, so that's where I do
So
it.
it keeps a consistency.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I did do homework. I watched
Okay.
a lot of videos, but I have no idea your backstory.
Sure.
And you started about the physical therapy before the mics went live.
Yeah, yeah.
So why don't you introduce yourself, Ian, and where you come from? And
Yeah, so I'm Ian. I'm from New York originally, born and raised on the Upper West Side.
Where?
94th in Columbus.
okay.
And I actually still live right near
Right
where I grew
there.
up. Yep. Went to public school on the Upper West Side, elementary, middle school, and then went to private school for high school. So my mom is actually Jamaican, from Kingston, which people always kind of, you know, they're
Give you
like,
shit about.
they're like, is
Yeah,
she
yeah.
black? You know, like, I don't know. They just don't.
Is she?
She's not.
Okay.
She's my family's Irish. Her side of the family's Irish, many generations.
Yeah, the Irish have done a good job of covering up the fact that they were slaves.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, if you hear like the patois Jamaican accent, there is a little bit of similarity with like the Irish accent. But many generations Irish. Anyway, the point of the story is my mom worked at the UN, the United Nations, growing up when I was a kid, and she ended up working there her whole career. And they would pay for school for her kids. So
That's a fantastic,
nice,
especially in New York.
Yeah,
'Cause it's a big difference between going to PS and.
that's right. And it was only because she was from
Where'd
a
you
foreign.
get in?
So I went to Columbia
Okay.
for high school, Columbia Prep for
Yep.
high school.
Why not collegiate?
I don't know. That's just where, and I didn't want to go. I really wanted to go. All my friends went to like Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech. The guys I hung out with weren't smart enough to get into Stuyvesant, so that wasn't a problem. But I ended up switching to private school, which was like a big change. You know, it was kind of a whole different vibe. So I went to private school for high school, and then ended up going to University of Wisconsin for undergrad.
Good eats in Madison.
What's that?
Good eats in Madison.
Yeah, good food there.
Yeah.
I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. I mostly just drank and
Well, good beer there.
good beer,
Yeah.
but I didn't learn much, to be honest.
No?
I didn't. And when I came back, friend of mine who...
Where'd you learn the storytelling?
I've always liked storytelling, to be honest. I don't know. I've never learned it anywhere, but I've always loved a good story. Like, I love when people tell a story. I love listening to people's stories. I love hearing, life stories from people. I had a project when I was in undergrad to interview my father's mother, so my grandmother on my father's side, and really learned a lot through that process. And that might have been where I started just kind of, formally liking to hear people's stories and learning about them. And so, part of what I do is I try to tell a little bit of a story, of the places I go and that kind of thing. But never trained. I just enjoyed it,
Why did you start doing it? Why did you start posting?
So I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, to be honest. I don't want to get too off topic, but I've been sober for 9 years.
Okay.
So, a few years into being sober, kind of trying to rebuild my life, which is a longer story, but just a lot of damage, a lot of it was a difficult time. And so I ended up going to rehab in 2015, got sober, trying to put my life back together, and was just sort of trying to figure out what to do. I had a job at a school, elementary school downtown. I was a teacher's aide for a second grade class, trying to figure out what to do with my life. That's where the physical therapy came in. They had a therapist who would come in and work with some of the kids, and I said, I want to pursue that. So that was kind of one angle, sort of like, let me get my life together, let me get a career going. And simultaneously, I, was sort of looking for a hobby, trying to stay out of trouble, and I'd always loved food and going to restaurants, and just basically decided one day, I
How many people think they could do what you do?
I think a lot of people think they can, and what's kind of, I don't know if it's different than other people who do what I do, but I really just kind of stumbled into this. I did not set out when I started my page to have a large following. I just really wanted to keep track of where I went to eat. And I downloaded Instagram and I started taking terrible pictures of, burgers and pizza or whatever I was trying, and just posting it for fun, really, just to kind of like go back maybe a few months later and be like, oh yeah, that place was good. Or if someone asked me.
It's hard to tell someone in Nashville how many places we have to choose from in New York, right? It's overwhelming, even for someone that's lived here their whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Restaurant or
whatever.
I could probably eat pizza and fried chicken for the rest of my life and be happy. So, a good pizza spot. I love Mama's 2. Mama's 2 is one of my all-time favorite places. They just opened on Bleecker. Yeah. It's fantastic. So, I mean, I would say Mama's 2 is probably my favorite kind of just spot in general to go to.
I like the Best Pizza. Have you been over
Best
there?
Pizza's good. I've not made a video there, but it's delicious.
It's a good pizza.
Yeah, it's good.
Finney's kicking their ass in our neighborhood.
Yeah,
though.
It's expensive.
It is.
But it's
$50. You want a pizza? $50 in New York right now.
It's a lot of money for a pie, right?
The whole dynamics of everything has changed post-pandemic. Right?
Yeah.
You're trying to get your life together, and that's an interesting point. Like you're not the only person that quit drinking, right?
Right.
Or needed help on recovery, right? And so, like, I haven't drank since Thanksgiving 2000.
Okay.
All right, so it's been a party.
Congrats.
It didn't even really try, right? Stumbled into it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and I tell this to people, and they don't believe me. It's amazing how much time you have if you were an outstanding alcoholic and you don't drink anymore.
Yeah. And then trying to figure out, what do you do? That was that was what I spent my time doing, was going out, drinking, doing drugs. That was my life. It was, and I was working in finance at the time, and it was just a mess, to be honest. And so, it was really just a hobby for me, right? On the weekends when I wasn't working, I'd, plan a couple of spots to go to, and I'd go. And that was when I learned that there were food bloggers or that was, and I would follow them. I would follow them and literally be like, oh, so-and-so went to I'm going to go try that, and that's how it started, just really for fun.
It's it's easy to find something you love if you're doing something for fun. It's much harder to monetize it.
Yeah, it is.
When did you get to the point, or how did you know you were at the point, better yet, where, hey, this is something that's real. It's not just like me going out to eat.
Yeah, it's, I've thought about that a lot, over the last couple years. And I think it was when, I probably had, over 10,000 followers. It took me about a year to get about 10,000 followers. And that's when I really learned that I didn't, maybe it sounds crazy, but I didn't even really realize Instagram was like an advertisement platform. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even really know you could monetize. I was in it just for the food, and then I, got some comped meals here and there, and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
And then I think at some point I noticed, another creator or, another food blogger who I had followed, was posting like an advertisement for whatever. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. I didn't realize it. And I don't even remember what my first deal was, but I think that's not true. It was with Elio's Pizza, the frozen pizza.
The frozen pizza.
Yeah.
So now here's the guy just said, Mama 2 is my top spot.
Right.
And I'm doing Elio's Pizza.
Elio's Pizza. They sent me like a sweatshirt, a couple of frozen pizzas, and I think they paid me $150 to just post on my page like a picture of me with the sweatshirt holding a slice of pizza.
That's like $50 more than Charlie D'Amelio got on her first deal.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it was like do you remember? I think it was 100.
I
think it was $100 to like dance to a song.
Yeah, but for me at that time, I was working like 3 jobs, so $150, like that was like my phone bill and a little extra. So I was all in with that. I was like, great.
Yeah. Of course. You give me $150 right now, I'll let you stay an extra half hour.
I think I might have it on me. Yeah.
I mean, it's like for sure. It's usually cash out, not cash in.
Yeah. I'll tell you though, at the time, the $150 was great, but I never envisioned doing it being able to do this full time and earn a living doing this. It was like, oh, cool, a couple extra bucks. But that was probably the moment when I was like, okay, I could earn a little extra income, supplement.
Did that change how you approached it when you had that aha? Like, did you approach it a little bit differently?
Not then. It wasn't until probably like 2.5 years ago. So I've had my page around 5 years-ish, I think. Maybe it's 6 years now. But it was a couple years ago. It was while I was in PT school when the light bulb went off. And I had this kind of moment where I was like, do I continue with school? Because I realized
you were getting robbed.
I was spending a lot of money for something that I had wanted to pursue, but that there was this whole other world out there, and that I really didn't need to get this. I mean, in terms of the money, I didn't need to get this. I didn't need to finish PT school because I could make a living doing food. So that was when it went off, and I stayed in school and finished because I committed to doing it and I wanted to see it through. But that was when I realized I didn't need to, I could just do food.
Do you do physical therapy with a sandwich, or is it full attention?
I thought
when
about
you go
that.
In? Yeah,
opening up a clinic where we just have like
you're the guy.
Bowls of pasta, after
you get like
yeah. No. I mean, but what's funny is a couple of my patients have recognized me.
Okay.
They're like, wait a second, I'm going to get them for the evaluation, from the front waiting area, and they're like walking back. And they're like, hold on a second, you look familiar,
I don't know that I'd ever recognize your face, but your voice is so distinct.
Yeah.
The second you started talking, I would be like,
you're like, wait a minute,
where am I?
Yeah. So that's happened. That was kind of fun,
The change, how did that, when you saw that moment in time where you said, like, this can be my living, right? Like, well, first, what about that time sort of set that thought off?
Yeah.
And then how did it change how you approach what you do?
So it was another moment where, I was getting a couple of deals here and there, a couple thousand, bucks here and there, which was awesome. But I was talking to other influencers, bloggers, whatever you want to call it, and they were getting big money, $20,000, $30,000 deals. And they had maybe the same, even sometimes less followers than I did. And I realized this is, you can make serious, for me at least, serious money doing this. So that's how it kind of clicked.
Right.
And what changed was I had realized I wasn't really charging companies, brands, what I should have been charging.
What you were worth.
What I was worth. And that was a difficult thing too, because
Did you conceptually see the value of what you were doing for them?
It's difficult. I think even just in my personal life, I have trouble sometimes,
Well, that's the addict.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll just tell you that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the addict. You can't.
100%.
And because, I mean, we started talking about the other day with Carly, right? And, like, I think she looked at it like, yeah, I'm worth this, right? Like, that's how she goes into the conversation. This is what we're worth. We're doing something cool, and this is... And so I can completely understand and empathize with that. Like, well, what day are they going to pull this away from me?
Right. And I look at their page, Sister Snacking, for example, and I'm like, what professionals? Like they just look, their page is tight.
It's different.
Different
audience, right?
Yeah. But it's great. And I'm like, but that's not, I'm like, I can't really do that, right? They've got this whole operation. They seem to have a plan. They seem focused. They seem to know what the moves are, and I'm like, I'm not like that. I'm kind of an idiot, like I'm just this kind of guy that fell into this.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You should sit in my seat. I had 7 hot dogs for lunch the other day.
I like that.
Because these 2 guys kept saying, like, I'm like, I can eat 20, 25, 30 hot dogs, whatever. Yeah. And I just wanted them to see, like, it wasn't like
ask them to put a time limit on it, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not. I don't want to do 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like that's disgusting. And I also used potato buns because I was like, well, 7, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to use the good buns. You use a lesser bun.
Yeah.
Easy to do 20, 30 hot dogs.
Were you dunking in water?
No. Just eat it. Just eat it. I can just eat. And, so I turned off the camera. I was in a meeting. I turned off the camera. Yeah. And like 12 minutes later, I was like wiping mustard off my face, turned the camera back on. And I'm like, hold on to the meeting. Tara, like you gotta verify that this was less than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I sent him over the time lapse. And I'm like, oh.
So 7.
Nobody likes the time lapse.
No.
Nobody liked it. It's too disgusting. It's too disturbing, I think.
So I've been to the Nathan's hot dog eating contest the last 2 years.
Yeah, that grosses me out.
It's gross. It's gross. Me out. And I think I'm not going to go this year because Joey Chestnut's not there.
See, for me, it's about a marathon.
Yeah.
Like I could outrun Joey Chestnut.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's not willing to sit down for an hour and a half and just keep going till
he can't.
Till he can't. He's got a very specific skill set.
Yeah.
I'm not a sprinter.
Yeah.
I'm a marathon runner.
Yeah.
The New York's a terrible city for hot dogs. Have you found a decent hot dog here?
I mean,
like a really
you gotta
good
go to Jersey.
Hot dog.
You got to go to Jersey.
Jersey's a great hot dog place.
Rippers,
Oh, I mean, the Cremator. Have you had the Cremator
at
Ruts?
At Ruts, I have. I love that.
That's one of the most disgusting / awesome things I've ever had. So they take the hot dog and they deep fry it. That's why it's a ripper. It rips. But then there's a Cremator. It's not on the menu, and they will try to talk you out of ordering it. And they just leave it in the deep fryer till every bit of moisture that was in the hot dog is gone. And it's something like bacon, but a hot dog. And I mean, they're very good.
Yeah, I love Rippers.
You were featured prominently in this morning's group chat, and basically, one of my best friends keeps a very detailed spreadsheet of pizza and hot dogs all around the country. But cheeseburger is a big deal, and they're sort of hot dogs are really popular with everyone else. All of a sudden, they hadn't been. So like now, I'm like, I'm looking at cheeseburgers a lot. Yeah. And the white manna is it top tier, right?
It's good, really good. There's 2 different ones. You know the story? There's 2 different.
I don't know.
There's a Jersey City one and a Hackensack one.
Never knew the Jersey City one. I know the Hackensack.
And they're different. They're kind of sliders, but they're like they get totally the different. Beef from different places, and people are kind of loyal to one versus the. I think Hackensack is sort of more popular, but Jersey City, and I don't want to upset people, but I think Jersey City also has a pretty strong following too.
Which one would you go to?
I went to the Hackensack one.
But we're going to one today. Where are you going?
Hackensack.
Hackensack.
I've tried the Jersey City one. It's I don't know, respectfully, it's a more kind of like rundown location. The Hackensack's a tighter ship, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's going to be packed.
The line is insane, right? Yeah.
But yeah, go for it. Let me know what you think.
No, man.
I think it's great.
Dude. We were like, oh, this guy isn't some sort of sissy eater.
No, man, that place. I threw down.
That was where you got respect this morning. Like,
Thanks.
Yeah, we were like White Manor. Oh, he went to, because like a lot of people won't go to White Manor.
No,
they won't cross the bridge for.
I'm all over North Jersey, man. I love it. Yeah,
it's far away.
It is a really far away place.
Yeah, you grew up in the Upper West Side when you're like, oh, this really far away place, Connecticut or New Jersey.
I like to have, not to go on a tangent, but I love saying kind of goofy stuff like that because I don't like to take myself seriously.
Yeah,
I kind of like to portray this sort of hopefully like kind of lovable dope is what my page is kind of about. So
the New York person is dying. Like your generation will be it.
Yeah. I know, and it's kind of a shame, It's
a real shame. It's a sin.
It's funny because I hear people in their 50s and 60s now, and I'm like, with the accent, people from around here, Lower East, and it's like, it's a little sad to me that you just that's something that's going to go by the wayside in the next 20 years,
It's just evolution.
Yeah.
It happens.
It's life.
I mean, I think, probably people said that in the 1930s too, right? Like, oh, we're not going to have any more of those wasps.
Yeah.
They're all going to be gone. It's going to be just these Irish and Italians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times are changing, but
yeah, there won't be in 30, 40 years. I mean, there's actually a place in the media for you because of that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's going to disappear over time. And yeah, that brand you build, that lovable dope, like you'll be able to, do you think about how you could transcend food with that? Or do you think about it primarily from a food?
I've thought about it. So one of the things, I'm very grateful that I'm getting, a good amount of sponsored stuff and making, for me, a great living doing this. But I do think, what's next? Do I get an agent? Do I, what do I do?
Oh, you don't have an agent?
I don't.
Doing all this yourself?
Yeah. And I've talked to a few agents, and I don't know if it's me or just the tone of my page, but I get a sense that they're just not super interested.
Excited? Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. I fully get it. Do you see the difference between, it's the difference between sister snacking and what you're doing?
Yeah.
But how engaged is your audience?
I think very.
Yeah.
And I think,
you have a different audience than them.
Definitely.
You go to the same places sometimes.
Sometimes.
Different audience.
I like to think, and with all respect to them, one thing I really like about my page is I feel like my audience is kind of like the every man or every woman, right?
100%.
Like the guy driving the UPS truck.
100%.
I was out in front of a pizza shop the other day. Con Edison guys there. They're like, "Hey man, we love what you're doing." I parked my motorcycle.
The police officer.
Yeah, security guards, right?
Like you could be having dinner at the firehouse.
Yeah. I like that, right? It's just kind of, and I hope that my page to people who follow it, it seems approachable. I seem like a regular guy because I feel like I am. Sometimes I think that if I worry about getting an agent and then getting too commercialized and losing a little of that, magic or whatever it is that just makes people just kind of like to see what I'm doing, and want to try the places I go to. And when they see me on the street, say hello. And, we have a nice little friendly, fun, kind of goofy conversation, and that's what I love about it. That's what's great about it.
What I really hope I get out of all this is a hot dog deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my face on the cover of a hot dog. People,
that'd be pretty cool, right?
I mean, how else does someone get on there?
We should go.
We just
to
get a white label. We get a spot. So I mean, Jersey's got good hot dogs. Connecticut's got great hot dogs.
Okay.
But New York, just for a place with so many hot dogs,
I know.
it doesn't. It's like they just don't get how to make a hot dog.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is like the all beef. It's so driven by an all beef hot dog out of Nathan's at Coney Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do enjoy Nathan's though.
Do you?
Yeah. I'm actually going to Coney Island today after this.
All right.
Just hanging out and gonna grab a couple of Nathan's dogs.
All right. Well, I mean, I do not eat them.
Crispy, snappy, nothing.
Nothing.
No.
I don't. I like. I would say the Salem's hot dog is probably my favorite.
Okay.
Zweigels.
Yeah.
I had 7 of those Zweigels. They were big dogs.
Yeah.
The I find it amazing that people are making a living eating, talking about, creating media about hot dogs.
Yeah.
Specifically about hot dogs. Forget like what you're doing. Like you're giving us a guided tour through New York City and the area, and I think we find places on your page that we might not find otherwise, right? And I think that's a really cool, easy to quantify value add.
Yeah.
But like Frank the Tank doing raw dog, and he was down at Yum Yums the other day. I saw in Greensboro, North Carolina. I used to go to that place all the time.
Yeah.
And like this guy's got a whole thing just doing hot dogs.
Just dogs.
Yeah.
I always tell people people sometimes ask me, how can I get into this? How do I do this? And I honestly think you can share, if you share, authentically, and you talk about something you care about that you find interesting, I think you can kind of talk about anything on social media and build a following.
One of my buddies down in, for what I don't know how he has not executed on anything, but he has a hot dog lust on Instagram.
That's
his page.
The page?
It's a good. He started doing it because he got sick of girls putting salads on, yoga salads.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'll show them. But I'm like, dude, you're not doing anything with this. You got a great name.
Yeah.
You got merch. Like, and you're just posting up hot dog. And he's like, well, I'm the top hot dog related DJ in South Florida.
What is that?
Because he'll post the music with the hot dog.
Okay.
And that I'm like, come on, man. Like, make a reel. Go talk to someone eating a hot dog.
Yeah.
And he just won't do it. Just post a picture of a hot dog. And like, nobody wants a picture of a hot dog. They want to hear why that person picked that hot dog.
Yeah. I agree. I think, but it's not for everybody, I guess. There's a vulnerability in it, I think, in sharing and talking about stuff, So
what's it like when people start trashing you?
I would love to say that I just don't pay attention, but I do, and it's I think there's days where it doesn't affect me, and then there's days where it's hurtful, A lot of people just, I think, based on the way I look and I talk, they go, this guy's a transplant. He's not from New York, And if I'm, reviewing anything approaching any type of ethnic food, whether it's Caribbean or Middle Eastern.
Especially if you go Jamaican, right?
Oh, what's this white guy know about anything? And it's like my grandmother grew up, and my mother, I grew up eating, stewed chicken and, ackee and saltfish and all that. And so I'm not an expert, but I have some knowledge of Caribbean food, but just based on my look, and they're like, go back to Iowa, and I'm like, I have been to Iowa, but, I'm like, man, there's a lot of positivity, but there's also, it's obviously the overwhelming positive stuff is not what I pay attention to sometimes. It's the negative comments. It hurts, but, it is what it is,
Taking on that, what is life like as a creator, especially for the kids that are like sitting there going, eating, taking up content, and they say, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. But what they don't realize is how much work they have to do. So like, what's life like for you?
It is a lot of work. And I'm grateful for it. I mean, it's like a dream. I wake up and I pinch myself that I get to do this, but it's 7 days a week, I'm either recording content, editing, and, producing content. I'm, finding new places to go, reaching out, organizing visits. I also manage a couple of restaurant Instagram accounts in the city. So I'm shooting for that. I'm talking with the owners.
How many different revenue streams do you have in your life?
I have 4 or 5 different revenue streams. Yeah.
You Jamaican, man. You lazy.
Yeah, I know.
There was in Living Color. They used to run that skit when I was a kid. And it was
Great
like,
show.
How
by
many
the way.
jobs you got? How many jobs you got? Oh, you got 8 jobs. You lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great show.
It was top. People, I'm pretty sure that J-Lo's bought like the first season to hide it from everyone.
She was a fly girl on that show.
She was a fly girl.
Yeah.
Yep. Way back when.
And Jim Carrey was Fire Marshal Bill.
Yeah. I have a friend who insists that Jim Carrey should be canceled because he basically has made a career out of insulting people with mental illness. I'm like, come on.
Ace Ventura,
funny.
man.
He's funny.
I hadn't seen
He's
Ace
funny.
Ventura in like a few years, and I sat with my girlfriend and watched it the other day, and I was laughing from the minute, like from the credits.
You couldn't make it today.
No.
But it's timeless. It's funny.
Just his haircut, the way he's got that. Oh my God. I wish he just had kept making Ace Ventura movies. Like Ace Ventura 10 was coming out.
Yeah.
I'd be
Hey,
in the
man,
theater
you should try to
watching
pitch it to him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's waiting for someone to show up with a check.
it. Yeah.
But no, so I mean, you live that life 7 days a week, right?
Yeah.
And you got 4 or 5 different revenue streams. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, well, how can I do that? Well,
Yeah.
you can earn the hours and the repetition, right?
Yeah. I spent hours, thousands of hours, and to be honest, thousands and thousands of dollars when I started this page, just going to places. Nobody cared. Nobody was inviting me. And I was just going to places and spending my own money and
I got dozens of people that listen to this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Laughing.
No.
Right. But you got to do it.
You guys
start
gotta
somewhere.
Put the work in, and I think if you're doing something that you care about and you really have a passion for it, people will, you can't fake authenticity, I think, So if you're talking to people or whatever gets you going, if you're doing that and pursuing it, people are going to respond to it. Might take time, but people will.
I think that's a really good advice in the way that you said it, because we run a creator in residence program and bring creators through to see our student athletes and our student influencers at UConn. I run that. And they always say like, oh, you got to be authentic and you got to be consistent and you got to be that. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? What does authentic mean? And I think that is tough. It's easy to say once you've done it and you've gone through and you've had 1 million people troll you and 1 million people like you and like you find your authentic place in that space. But it's really hard for a 19-year-old kid who just sees get ready with me videos or, bloopers with, water guns.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting way to put it. And when you go back and look at your start to this, it was like, I want to fill some time. What's gonna make me focus my energy? And I think that's a good way to start to define what's authentic.
Right. I think you need to just find something you care about, that you like talking about, that you like doing, and talk about it and share your experience. And it can be, in my opinion, it can be anything. You could. I have a friend who's does voiceovers for like movies and commercials, and he was like, "How do I start my TikTok page?" I'm like, "Show your setup, show where you record, talk about, how you create different voices for. I would love to learn about that.
The things that we do day in, day out, we think are boring. And we want to talk about something grand. I'm just dealing with this myself, you know? And we want to talk about something grand and be known for something, yet the thing that's most interesting tends to be what we find most boring.
Agreed.
Because nobody knows what it's like to teach a class at a university, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you just go and do it, right?
Right.
Well, sometimes, but
so much work goes into it.
I've done 18 years I've been teaching classes.
Yeah.
I can do much more now than I could 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Doing this interview, it's like, they'll be like, oh, great podcast. You got to
this didn't just happen out of nowhere.
you got to kind of, we tried a million times. If it weren't for Chris, it weren't for this setup, we wouldn't have been able to ever get the product that we wanted to match up, right? And I think that, so it's interesting how you defined out what you see from Sister Snacking, and I think they'd want you to do that. And I think when you go back their podcast next week. Yeah. No. A couple more weeks. Okay. Next week's Doorman Stories. Yep. Doorman Stories.
Yeah.
But I think when you go back and see it, I think you'll have so I know I'll catch you on that one because you'll be like, oh, she'll talk about it, and it's not going to be what you thought.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have this perception that you've built up off of her Instagram page and her TikTok, and in reality, it's totally different. And I think that's what you're saying in one way or another about your own experience is like, oh yeah, you look at this, and I'm the white kid from Iowa, but by the way, my grandmother's from Jamaica. Yeah. And I've grown up in New York my whole life, and when you grow up in New York, you just eat more types of food. Period.
A lot of different places. I think hearing people's stories is just fascinating. And I would love to hear about the preparation, why you chose to teach this course, all the work that goes into it, interesting experiences you've had with students over the years, and just how you've gotten to where you I think that'd be fascinating. I would tune in and listen to that.
So I mean, I think the core of what we've done and why we're even doing this is it's the same. And like how we're doing this is the same thing as well. It's like, well, you helped me, so I'm going to help you. Right? Like both those guys are students. Right? Like you look at who does the graphics. She's a former student. Former students that I've helped in my life, and I think I'm authentically want to help people. And so we started to get to the point of like, how do you monetize helping people?
Yeah.
Because you can't do it for free, and you can't do it on a professor's salary forever. So how do we make this a win-win-win-win, like all around? And as we've been exploring the content creation piece, as we did, name, image, and likeness came along for college athletics, right? And like we built out, like my team built out the infrastructure at UConn. I got a national championship ring.
Yeah.
My student was drafted number 7 the other day by Portland.
That's awesome.
Like cool stuff, right?
Donovan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we started looking at it as like, oh, there's all these people. They're wanting to tell a particular story, and they tell it through their Instagram page and through their TikTok page, but nobody's really diving into what's going on. Like, how did you become this as a profession? Because this is a profession.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's when you pull 6-year-olds, it's the number one profession they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, you're a TV actor for all intents and purposes, and you backed into it.
I think it's sort of the new television. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, right? But
there's no gatekeeper that stopped you.
Yeah.
You were the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
The market was the gatekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Guy Fieri had to figure out who to convince to let him on TV.
Yeah.
You just started posting.
Yeah. You don't need some producer, or an executive at NBC being like, or Food Network being like, we don't like, whatever. It's just
100%.
You. And it's free to start, I mean, in the sense of just making a page. And
time, investment.
Yeah.
You can escalate it.
Yeah.
As you go.
Yeah.
You don't have to be $1 million in production to have a TV show.
No. A phone.
It's
right? Crazy.
Right? Like it's a totally different world. I think that's the precursor to entrepreneurship, by the way. If you create things that have value for other people, that's the precursor to becoming an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we started doing this, and that's how we dissect what we're trying to do. So when you see a page like yours, and I go through it and I'm looking at it and I'm looking for one thing to build trust. Like, okay, so the other day, like, I saw your stuff before we started. Yeah. Okay, you care that much. Then you're looking to find some space where there's commonality, right? And then you throw it out. Like you quit drinking 9 years ago. I quit drinking 20-something years ago. You start to develop that commonality, and then you start digging into the things that maybe you wouldn't just like. Maybe you would, but maybe not everybody would just put out there on the plate, right? And say, look at this, because what you're doing is fascinating. Kids are sitting around trying to figure out, how do I do that? There are people posting every day getting 300, 400, 500 views, and you're posting something and getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, and it's really not that different.
Yeah.
It's at the margin where it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, and I sometimes think, why does that happen for me and not for other people, you know? I don't know.
I think there's something at the margin that you're doing that really adds that little bit of value.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that space in your apartment where you record, right?
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
Like when you care that much about what you're putting out, that you find the weird space in your apartment, not because it's nice to sit there, but because it gives you that same sound over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? Like that level of care is probably across the platform of what you're doing.
Yeah. I do feel that as maybe it doesn't appear so in my content, but I am a little bit of a perfectionist. Like I really want the video, you know, if you were to watch when I'm filming, I'll like reopen the burger, you know, not me, but whoever I'm with, you know, I'll be like, can you do it a little differently? Right. Like is it rocket science? No, but I have a very specific way that I like to do it, and it's worked, and it's a little bit formulaic, right? Like I kind of say...
It has to be.
It has to be. I feel like I kind of... One of the reasons I start the video the way I do, and I end the video by saying, I stayed until they kicked me out. You know, when it's great, by the way, because people will be driving by on this, and they're like, "You getting thrown?" Someone asked me today. I was getting my hair cut, and she said, "Where you?" I walked out, and she said, "Where are you getting kicked out of today?" And I turned and had a little conversation with her. But it's formulaic. But I feel like I kind of found things that worked, that I feel comfortable doing, that feel relatable and kind of fun, and just went with them. You know, but there was a method to the madness. Like I tried things and found what worked, and then just kind of stuck with that. You know.
No, that formulaic piece makes it reproducible without massive cost.
Right.
And when I say cost, and for the audience, coming up with a new creative direction costs you tons, right? Like it's hard. You have to think about it. You know, like you're saying, you got to write it. It doesn't just happen. Even if you make it look approachable, like you could have done it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is so discounted. And when you talk to especially someone my age or older, and they're like, "Oh, that's an influencer." They're like, "Oh, that's not doing anything." And it's like, well, you know, there's a bit of an art there, and there's a reason why they're getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just, that's the reality. Like, I didn't make the world. This is the world.
Yeah.
This is where content's being consumed. What's your favorite fried chicken?
Sandwich?
No, just chicken.
My favorite fried chicken. So, Pies and Thighs in Brooklyn is up
pretty
there.
good,
It's
man.
pretty good. If you want a local spot that you can kind of find in
Pies and Thighs is about 5 blocks from my house.
Pies and Thighs is
pretty
good.
local.
Charles Pan Fried Chicken's pretty good too, even though they were opening up a few stores. It's pretty solid fried chicken. I'm more of a fried chicken sandwich guy.
Are you? I'm a tendy guy.
Yeah.
You give me tendies, I could eat. I had a vacation one time where we all bet how many tendies I could eat while on the vacation.
Yeah, just like over the course of a week.
Just over the course of the week. Yeah,
what'd
that's
you,
a marathon. It
was
was like it was like 78 because it's
my
hard
God.
to find. Sometimes you go to a fancy restaurant, you can't get 10. So like you got to take that into
kids menu, but
yeah, no, you got to get the real.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was like 78 was the over under, and I think I got like 74.
Yeah.
So then I come back to my in-laws' house this past time.
Yeah.
And there was 50 chicken tenders in the fridge. Like they had
waiting.
They had saw me just order.
Yeah.
Yeah, just waiting.
I don't like bones, so I'm a tender guy too. But as chicken sandwich on a bun, fried chicken, I love it.
Really?
Yeah. Rowdy Rooster makes a good one. They kind of do like a masala fried chicken, so it's got like a masala seasoning on the outside.
That is the best.
It's incredible. Don't get the spiciest level. It's insanely spicy.
Unless you're a man.
It's hot.
I ask in all like Thai or Indian or any of those those restaurants, I ask for the spiciest. You give the white guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want discomfort, but not like not the thing I can't eat.
If you get like the Indian person spice.
Yeah,
spicy,
it's not doable.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So their hottest level is hot. I get like I think they have 5 levels. I'll get like the 3rd hottest.
Yeah.
And sometimes the 4th, but it's spicy. But it's a great sandwich.
Right.
Great chicken sandwich.
What makes a great chicken sandwich for you?
It's the chicken. Yeah, I mean, obviously. But I love there's a place called Fluffy's in New Jersey.
I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
New Jersey's so far.
New Jersey's a faraway place. There's also a place, Pecking House in Brooklyn. I don't know what they do, but I think they do. They put this, what is that stuff called? This powder on the outside. I can't think of the name of it. That makes it like you bite it and it's like it's a crunch, juicy, crunchy. It doesn't even really matter. Like it doesn't matter the sauces and all that they put on the sandwich at that point. It could be almost anything. If it's got that crunch and that juicy chicken.
That's it. Yeah,
that's it
ready?
for me, man. I love a crunchy, crispy, really crispy fried chicken.
I thought David Chang could have done something, and I'm always surprised that just didn't take off.
Fuku.
Yeah, what was the chicken salad? He had a chicken sandwich restaurant right around here.
Wasn't it Fuku or am I crazy?
Yeah, maybe it was. Is that just the chicken sandwich?
Fuku, which still exists, was his like Korean fried chicken sandwich and French fry arm of Momofuku, but they sold it, so they're no longer a part of it.
Yeah. I just thought, man, this is a real chance here, and it didn't hit it the way it should have.
Yeah, it wasn't consistent. I would go and it would be kind of great one time and not great another time, and I don't know.
Sometimes restaurateurs get their eye on too many things.
Yeah.
And David's a media personality
Yeah.
now. He's not a chef anymore.
Yeah.
He wants to be Anthony Bourdain.
I know. Momofuku kind of fell off. I was a big fan of Noodle Bar for years. And
did he put it down in the pandemic? Is that I feel like he just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go here and I have this media opportunity.
They had like 5-6 restaurants in the city that were all like fantastic.
There was the chicken one that you had to order like the day before, and
it was amazing.
One of the best things.
Sambar, Noodle Bar.
Those were really, really great restaurants.
Great.
And Please Don't Tell had the hot dog, which was pretty good.
And it was all kind of a little different, kind of funky, quirky. And they do specials.
I wonder what it would be like if we could convince him to go back to really getting into the creation of food.
I know. And also
he had a brain for it.
Yeah. And he got that backlash with the chili crunch thing now. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
He tried to trademark chili crunch so that, and a couple of small little mom and pops that made like kind of like that crunchy oil, spicy oil that you'd add to stuff. They call it chili crunch, and he like sued them. And then there was a big backlash and he backed off. But now if you go to Momofuku's page, every post, people are just trolling him. Yeah. So he's a brilliant guy, but
his restaurant interpretations have always been amazing. And when that chicken sandwich came out, I was like, this is going to take over the world.
Yeah.
And it just never did. I think you're right. It's lack of attention to detail.
Yeah.
This wasn't important enough to make it the biggest chicken sandwich restaurant in the world.
Yeah, tried to mass produce it, didn't do it right. I don't know. I don't know the business side of things like that.
Sure.
But
we're speculating.
Yeah.
But something missed.
Yeah, but it's a shame because I know he can make a great one. I'm sure.
Yeah. The duck too. He had a great duck. So, no, I mean, I think you have, so when I think of different foodies, right, like people coming to the table, we were asking people when we started building the podcast and started working on the brand, like, well, what's interesting about David? And they're like, someone's like, well, David can eat the lowest level of food and the highest level of food, right?
Yeah.
And nothing in between.
I relate to that. Yeah.
And so you see the foodies, and I was in Colombia, and in Colombia, you can build a meal with 4 chefs on one plate because people cost so little.
Yeah.
And you can train them.
Yeah.
And you pay them so little compared.
Yeah.
And the meal's $180. That would have been a $2,000 meal. But it's that big of I can taste it But I don't do that. Like,
The
that
little-
doesn't work for me.
little bites.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
little, like, this is like the gastro science of food. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I want kind of a mouthful of food, you know.
I want to feel good.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what I take from your page. I get what you're saying about it doesn't look that put together, but it's uniform.
Yeah.
So it looks intentional. But I take that, here's a person that when they say they liked something, they felt good eating it.
Yeah.
It wasn't about being seen eating it.
No. Yeah, exactly. I love food, and my favorite thing is when somebody goes to a place that I went and, you know, just talks about how much they liked it, mentions it to me. You know, they see me on the street, they're like, "Oh, that place was awesome." That's what gets me going. You know, that's what really kind of lights a fire under me. And also, when businesses, you know, if the video does well, that it kind of changes the trajectory, which has happened a few times, where, you know, maybe they just not necessarily were struggling, but were just sort of, you know, whatever, making ends meet, doing their thing, and then things take off.
That's a recurring conversation point that we've heard on food creation and food influencing.
Yeah.
And what I think, what I'm coming to believe is a lot of the people that are against content creation as an actual living and art form and these pieces, they do it because they feel that way because they don't think there's any inherent social value to what's being done.
Yeah.
But when you talk to a food influencer and they say, well, this place was kind of empty and now there's a line around the corner because it's that good.
Yeah.
And it was my post that started that,
Yeah.
right? That's real.
Yeah.
That's a real feeling.
It's an amazing feeling. I've had, there's a little Puerto Rican spot called Cocotazo in underneath the train tracks on 116th Street in this little place called La Marqueta, which is historically was like this Puerto Rican market for generations. I think almost 100 years, and they would sell, you know, goods and you know, different things and had food. And there was a woman there who, grandmother and mother Puerto Rican, long story short, started cooking and, you know, would have people come in. The food was great, but I posted for her. It got, I think, 3 or 4 million views. And I saw her like 2 months later. She ran up and hugged me, and she's like, "You don't even know. There's an hour wait now. Business is crazy." I mean, she didn't show me her financial
You didn't make
statements.
the food.
No.
But
I got people in the door to a great place. You know, it was her kind of small little shop.
in a place where you have to, it's like you have to go there for that.
Yeah.
You're not walking down the street.
Yeah. You wouldn't really know unless you know.
Unless you know.
And that's, I mean, what an amazing thing off of just coming in with my phone and filming a little video, you know?
I got two really important questions, and then I'll
Yeah.
let you ask anything you want.
Okay.
One, why is Kim Kardashian famous?
Time. I think that she kind of got into this at a certain time.
All right.
I think she has a very, very strong team behind her, always kind of working at what the angle is.
Okay.
I think that everything she does, with all respect to her, I don't know her, but I think everything her and the family does is really kind of produced and thought about.
Yeah. All right.
So it's a whole
that's
thing.
good.
Yeah.
2, Jacob's Pickles is moving.
Yes.
I eat Thanksgiving dinner at Jacob's Pickles.
Yeah.
Jacob's Pickles, you know, when the fire happened,
Yeah.
like I lost sleep.
Yeah, me too.
Might never open again.
Tragic.
Right? Thankfully, we'd waited for years for Maison to
Yeah.
open. They slid Sunday brunch over there. A couple years they came back.
Yeah.
Now they're moving.
Yeah.
How are they going to survive in that location?
So they're actually moving right around the corner from me.
You. I know. You
Into-
started where you lived.
Yeah.
This is
Right around the
why I
corner.
knew you're the only person that can be there.
And I won't put his business out there, but Jacob also lives very close to me, which is cool because I've run into him. And great guy, by the way. Smart guy. I don't know. I worry because that street on Columbus Avenue is different than where they're at, kind of in the middle of the bar, Ease and they got, it's just a nice, I love where they're at now.
Yeah.
They got tiki.
The whole thing, the tiki thing's a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never got to the Chinese, the dim sum.
Yeah.
The tiki thing's a killer.
Yeah.
Killer app. Like this is the best thing right next to it, like I've ever seen.
By the way, $5 really great chicken sandwiches there.
Amazing chicken sandwich. Everything they touch is great.
Yeah.
In getting back to the chicken.
Yeah.
Very good chicken. Jacob's Pickles crushed the chicken.
Love it.
And I don't eat much chicken breast.
Yeah.
Like if I were, I'd get chicken thighs at home. Then I'll get chicken tenders just for hot chicken, buffalo, that sort of stuff. All right. That's a tough switch.
Yeah.
83rd to 94th in Columbus, something like that.
I hope they do well. It's a big space. The block's different. That whole avenue, that area is different. It's even though there's businesses there, it seems not as much foot traffic, because you got the bars down on Amsterdam.
It's
like
now a destination when you move out there.
Yeah.
You have to be going to Jacob's Pickles to go there. You're not going to be sitting at the Beacon and go, hey, let's go over to Jacob's Pickles.
Yeah. So we'll see. I do worry, but I know that
good.
Jacob's a smart guy, and hopefully, they've done the research and have a good feeling about it, but we'll see.
Yeah. I think it's my Thanksgiving restaurant. Like if he screws up my Thanksgiving.
Can't do that.
You know what I mean? Like Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is actually my favorite day of the year.
He does the best Thanksgiving dinner of any that I've ever had.
Do you eat it at Jacob's or do you get
at Jacob's Pickles, 1 p.m.
on Thanksgiving?
Somehow we've always been able to get the 1 p.m. seating. Last year, we've gotten to know them over the years, and like we just told them, we're like, look, we come at 1 p.m. every year. Our family's in town. Like, can you get us in the 1 p.m. thing?
Yeah.
And they did it for us. And that's the other piece about Jacob's Pickles is their customer service has always been something special.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember the manager's name, the first manager, but I ended up on vacation with his sister, and he was like, you walk in and he's like, my sister, you get a table right away. And like it was a special place.
You always feel very welcome there for sure.
You do.
Yeah.
It's weird because like a lot of places they kind of take pride in how cool they are.
Yeah.
And that place has been killing it for 15 years.
Long time.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But great Thanksgiving meal. If you get a chance, if you haven't been, it's worth it. They've convinced me that you do not cook a whole turkey. You cook the turkey breast for Thanksgiving.
Interesting.
So
interesting. I didn't even know about it. So
it's a great meal.
Okay.
The only thing they keep from their normal menu is the macaroni and cheese.
It's good mac and cheese.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. So anything you want to ask me? We've been sitting here for an hour, me asking you questions. You don't have to, but it's always interesting to see what people think after having gone through 45, 50 minutes.
What's next for you? Like where you think you're trying to take this podcast and where are you trying to go with it?
So I don't know what's next. I know the direction.
Yeah.
So with AI coming, my chosen career is dead. Like it's just what I can do and what I can add value, it's dead. So like at least from a growth perspective, the university is not a place to be. Education is, entertainment is, sports and athletics are. And that's where I'm trying to build is at the nexus of those spaces. I think we need to promote the University of Connecticut in a much different way than traditionally. We need to reach different audiences and deliver different value. That's where those components are. So it's a little bit of career realignment with times.
Okay.
But also sort of how do you grow? You don't do the same thing. You do different things. And I think we're walking around saying this is the future for the next 10 to 15 years. of entrepreneurship. Well, if you weren't doing it, how much do you believe that?
Yeah.
Right? How much do you honestly believe that, right? And so, or are you afraid? So if you honestly believe what you're saying, you're afraid, right? And so getting to that point, well, I believe people like you are generally made to feel bad about their career choices, even though they're choosing to do something they love doing and are being rewarded financially and are setting themselves up to be bigger and bigger entrepreneurs over time. Why would we ever stop
Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's like, at some level, that's living the American dream. So, I think we hope that this becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Right? We believe that it could be a thing. It's nice to be on a topic where people have large social followings generally.
Yeah.
So that there's collaboration, there's network building. But I think all of us look around and go, there isn't really a podcast with high production quality, with high quality guests, with somebody smart enough to let you talk and ask questions. And that's where we want to fill that niche is like, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on. Most of you all think your competitor or your collaborator, they have their shit all together, or they're doing this, or they're like, basically the core of what you were talking about when you came in, that's why we're doing it. And you'll see when you look through it, most of us are just trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And so for people like you, it should provide some semblance of, hey, the world's not like this is real. And for kids that really want to do it, we hope they learn you got to work your ass off and you can do it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not bad. It's not this, it's not that. It's just like you'll actually own your own content. You'll own your own career.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
My last question is, when are we getting hot dogs and where are we going?
That's a great. So I mean, like, I would probably go like, I think the best. Well,
we're just making a Ruts
tough.
run, or we just
we're making a Ruts.
Yeah,
I think
I've been
so.
wanting to go
I think
for
we
like a
have
year.
to. All right.
Okay.
So that's I have a car, so because I'm not riding on the back of your motorcycle.
You don't want to. It's scary.
So I'll pick you up. We'll do Ruts because like that's maybe we'll stop at White Manna. We'll just do that loop.
Both.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. That's a deal.
Are we going right now or? No, I can't.
No. You gotta go. You gotta go somewhere else. And my wife told me I wasn't getting home till 4 p.m. So I'm definitely trying to beat her.
Okay. Yeah, you got to.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think I learned a lot more about you than what was on your page, and I really appreciate you sharing so honestly.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Great.
Cool.
Cool.
Where can they find you?
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram at I'ma Eat This, IMMA_eat_this, and TikTok.
Yeah.
Or you can find me roaming the streets of Manhattan too.
What is amazing is the follower. Dude, you got the worst. You got a great handle.
The worst
handle.
Yeah.
Great handle. I'ma eat this. But the underscores are killer.
The worst.
And you built a very large following on a shit handle.
I came up with it on the train once, like when I first started it, and my thought was, all right, I'll just make the page and I'll change it later. And then it stuck, and I feel like that's part of the...
I always
so
kind of
stupid.
take people's origin story a little whatever.
That's really
and
what
like
happened.
when you were talking yours, I didn't push like I normally would push back and be like, come on, man, you didn't just evolve into like you're being like, but I was like, no. I'ma eat this is so bad.
Well,
this is like I'ma eat this is great. The underscores are so bad that you walked into it. There's no other you didn't know what the fuck you were doing, and you put underscores in your handle.
Yeah, and I'll change it later. I tried to get I'ma Eat That, and it was taken because me and my friends used to sit around like smoking pot and be like, oh man, I'ma eat that. Like you see the commercial for like Domino's.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'ma eat this. It's stupid. I'll change it in like 2 weeks, and then it never changed it.
And it probably doesn't work if you don't have such a bad handle.
I think so.
Do you know what I mean? Like, don't change it.
Yeah.
It's your brand. It's what it is. It all works together.
Yeah.
But I didn't push back, and normally I'll be a little bit when people try to tell an origin story, it's like, yeah, whatever. You're pushing some story. But I was like, no, that's about right. That sounds, there's no way he intended to try to build a 1 million follower platform on Ima_E_this. There's no way.
No way.
Yeah.
By the way, Ima is the only three contraction word in English. So it's I'm going to I'm gonna to Ama. Some guy told me that, and I thought it was interesting.
I was just like, he's being and I think one of the things about doing this is it was clear to me that you were being like not trying to put up a front on the beginning side, because it was like, I'm gonna tell you this, like, and I think that's a hard part of social content as well, is like actually sharing.
Yeah.
Because you want to curate, you want to organize, you want people to believe some story about you so bad.
Yeah.
And
we all do it to some extent, but
for sure. But it's we all do it in everything we do. But some people have less of a mask than others on first points. And so I'm always like, I don't believe that, right? I'm a skeptic by heart. But I'm going to eat that. I remember when Atu sent it, I was like, this can't be. And then I click it, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what works, works.
What works, works.
Lee Trevino had the worst swing in golf.
Yeah.
But he won like 3 major tournaments.
Exactly.
Yep. So, all right, man. Well,
thanks.
It'll be great. Rut's hot.
Thanks again.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.